my guess that if you're watching this video, you're an online coach looking to start or scale your business in 2025. I talk to so many coaches out there that want to start their online coaching businesses, but are confused because there's so much information out there. And most people are giving out tips and tricks here and there, but no one's exposing the full blueprint. And I'm your host today, Brendan Whiting. I started working for Andy Elliott 3 years ago. I've helped dozens of coaches scale from $0 to $10, $50, even $100,000 in a single month as online coaches. So in this video, we are going to dive into the 5-step simple process to launch your online coaching business in 2025. Let's jump in. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and dive in. So step 1 to growing your online coaching business is to identify your niche, okay? I also call this choosing your market. And I want to explain this to you guys. The most important thing, basically the entire backbone of starting your coaching business is to identify your niche. You know, last week I made a video on 5 steps to pick out your niche. If you want to go a little bit deeper on it, you can go find that video. But just to make it really simple, I want to cover a couple things with you. That way you can go ahead and start the process of figuring out what your niche is. I always say this, but you have to fully understand how important it is for you to really niche down. I give a lot of examples, tell a lot of stories on this because I really try to help online coaches like wrap their head around how important this is. But for today's video, I'll just give you this one point. I heard Bruce Lee say one time, he said, "I fear not the man that's practiced 1,000 kicks one time, but the man that's practiced one kick 1,000 times." How I translate that to picking your niche is, from a marketing perspective and delivery perspective, your ability to get your clients results. If you're just focused on one small niche, solving one problem, you're going to get better at solving that problem, and you're going to be more qualified to solve that problem than anybody else in your marketplace. And especially when you're starting out, you got to go niche, and here's why. The market is absolutely flooded right now. Like, everybody's getting to the online space. Everybody's trying to build a brand on social media. And while it might seem intimidating and it might seem like, man, is the market saturated? I can assure you one thing. The market is getting saturated with amateurs. So there is a lot of people online, but there's not a lot of experts online, true experts that are teaching for your niche right now, okay? One thing I want you guys to understand is this. The first kind of part of this part 1 process is this. You have to understand that there's 3 core markets out there. And I first heard about this in Russell Brunson's book, Expert Secrets. Basically, he breaks down there's 3 core desires every human being has, which basically means there's always going to be a need for these 3 things: health, wealth, and relationships, okay? Now, these are what's called the 3 core markets. Like, every product, every service that you could offer your clients is going to fall into these 3 buckets. Now, there's also sub-markets. Let's say that you're a coach under the wealth bucket, right? Again, we got health, wealth, relationships. Sub-markets of the wealth category would be like real estate or finance or sales or business and things like that. So you got the market and then the sub-market. And then within those sub-markets, you have niches, right? So within real estate, we got real estate wholesaling, flipping houses, selling real estate as a realtor. Those are just an example of 3 different niches. What Russell Brunson always talks about is what you want to do is niche down as far as you possibly can, but it's just important to look at these and kind of map out, hey, here's the core markets, here's the sub-markets, and then here's my niche, because that's how you're going to go find new customers, right? Is you're going to, for example, if you're way out in your niche and you teach people, let's say, how to wholesale land, after you've tapped out that market, where would you go to find more customers? Well, you naturally go and get in groups and target people that are wholesaling real estate right now, because they're more educated on your niche than someone who's just in the wealth category. So that's important to understand, and I'll be breaking that down further in future videos. But for now, just understand the 3 core markets and then how to basically branch out and discover your niche within those 3 core markets. And then part 2 of this training is very simple. Once you've identified your niche and you're like, okay, so I think I'm going to go into X niche. How do you stand out? How do you build your foundation as a coach? Well, it's very simple. You need to identify 3 things. You need to identify 1, who you're serving, 2, the problem you're solving, and then 3, your unique mechanism for solving that problem. So that kind of breaks down like this, right? Once I know what my niche is, I need to understand who my ideal client is. I need to list out and define the traits of my ideal client. Not only that, I need to understand how my ideal client communicates. What verbiage do they use? What forums do they hang out on? What social media channels do they like to hang out on and spend their time on? I need to understand these things, because whenever you're speaking to someone's pain, whenever you're speaking to someone who's going through something, right? The more targeted you are, the more they can relate to you. See, back in the day, if I put out an ad, back when advertising was just getting started, and I was like, who wants to make more money? Well, that's everybody, right? But as marketing has gotten more flooded, if you put out an ad today that was like, make more money, no one would bite on it, because the market's not as gullible as we used to be, and it's more saturated. But if you come out and you speak directly to that person's problems, and you're like, hey, have you ever experienced XYZ? And they're like, oh my God, like every day, they're going to be more compelled to come to you. It's important that you identify, a couple things about your ideal client. What age are they? Do they have family, kids? Where do they live at? What are things they enjoy to do? How do they speak? What are their dreams and aspirations? Things like that. The more you can identify your ideal client, the more you understand them, the better you're going to be. The second thing is the problem. What problems are they struggling with? What is the result that they're after? I tell my coaches this all the time. If you can help a specific person accomplish a specific result or solve a specific problem, you will never, ever go broke. It's physically impossible, because there's always going to be a need for you, as long as you're effective, as long as you get results. Zero in on what result do you offer, or what problem do you solve? Do you help people make more money? Do you help people lose weight or get in better shape? Whatever it is, you got to clearly identify it too, right? So for example, don't just say, I help people make more money. Say, I help people make $10,000 a month. That's it. That's what's called a measurable outcome. If I deliver you more happiness, but it's not quantifiable, then it's really hard to really determine how much I actually helped you. But if I can find a way to measure an outcome, and then I can give it to you, well, now we're in business. Now I can be able to go to the marketplace and say, hey, I helped Bob go from A to B. Here's the proof. If you want to do the same thing, then reach out to me. And now you're going to be attracting more leads you know what to do with. And then the last piece of this is your unique mechanism. Now, one thing I want you guys to understand is, if you're just launching your coaching business, you probably don't have a specific mechanism yet, but you need to already start to kind of identify what it is, right? See, here's the thing. If you're going to be coaching people, most likely you've created this result for yourself already. So a perfect example is like, you used to be fat and now you have a 6-pack abs. You have to go out and teach people. So since you used to be the person who was fat, you know what that person talks like. Remember how we talked about the person? You know how they talk. You know the things they struggle with, because that used to be you. You know what problem they're trying to solve, right? You know that they want to lose weight. And then lastly, you have to know their mechanism. So think about, if I'm in that scenario, how did I get the 6-pack? Was there a specific diet I followed? Was there a specific training regimen? What's something I did differently that I can brand as my proprietary process to get you from point A to point B? Because the reality is, if you're a fat loss coach, there's millions of fat loss coaches out there that are all saying, hey, if you want to lose fat, join my program. I'm going to show you how to cut calories, burn more calories, and then you're going to lose fat. But you offer a unique process, something that people can be like, well, I haven't tried that yet. Well, now you have an advantage, and your program's even more compelling. And a perfect example of this is the ketogenic diet. I always like to explain to my coaches like this. Let's say I got two coaches side by side. I got two examples. And one coach is a fat loss coach, and he helps men lose 10 pounds of fat in 90 days. And so does this person over here. But this guy doesn't really have a process. And this guy does the ketogenic diet. He says, I help men lose 10 pounds of fat in less than 90 days using the ketogenic diet. And this guy's like, I help men lose 10 pounds of fat in less than 90 days through dieting. If I am a person who wants to lose 10 pounds of fat, and I'm looking at both of these coaches side by side, and I've most likely at some point in my life tried to lose 10 pounds of fat before on my own, and I failed, so now I need a coach. But if this guy is offering it through dieting, which is something I'm familiar with, I'm like, okay, well, I've tried his method before, but this guy's offering something called keto that apparently is perceived as easier to lose fat, and it happens faster, and people are getting results. I'm more compelled because he's got a process, right? He's got a unique mechanism, something new that I've never tried before. Now, I hope you guys are understanding how important it is to niche down, identify your customer, the problem you're trying to solve, and starting to understand the process of your proprietary method for helping people get results. Again, I made a whole video on how to niche down as a coach. This is the foundational work. We can make 3 hours of content on how to identify your niche, but for the sake of time, walking you through the entire blueprint, let's go ahead and move on to step 2. All right, guys, so we are on to step 2 of the process. to the next step, and that is to create your offer. Okay. Now, there's one super important thing I want you guys to understand. I'm going to dispel the biggest myth about how to start as an online coach that you've probably heard before. Okay. So a lot of people out there say that if you want to start an online coaching business, you should start by putting out a low ticket product. And I'm here to tell you that I would encourage you to do the exact opposite of that. Okay. I would encourage you to do one thing. I would encourage you to make a high ticket offer to start. Okay. See, a lot of people think, hey, if I have an audience of 5,000 followers and let's say I put out a $50 product, surely 100 people would buy a $50 product, right? Well, most of the time that's not the case. You're better off creating a product from $2,000 to $5,000 is the typical range that I recommend for starting out. Sometimes there's extreme cases one way or the other, but for the most part, a $2,000 to $5,000 offer is the place to start. Now, let me tell you why, even though it might seem tempting and it might seem like it's better to put out a low ticket offer than to start with high ticket, let me explain 3 reasons why that's not the case. All right, so number 1, it's going to be way easier to find one high ticket client than to find a bunch of low ticket clients. See, again, a lot of people think like, hey, if I have an audience of 5,000 and I have a $50 offer, surely I can get 100 people to buy it, right? But it doesn't end up really playing out that way, right? See, it takes a lot of trust to invest into your product, especially as when it comes to coaching. Dude, it's just the quality of client you're going to end up attracting through a $50 product versus a $5,000 product is like night and day difference, right? See, when I break the math down, it works like this. 100 people buying a $50 product would be $5,000, or one person buying a $5,000 product would be $5,000. Both scenarios, you generate $5,000 in revenue. But it's way easier to find one person that's willing to pay you than it is to find 100 people. That's 100 conversations, 100 sales, 100 things you got to deliver on, whereas over here it's just one person. The second reason that you want to target high ticket when you start out is because you typically, when you're an online coach and you're just starting out, you want to start by working with people one-on-one. I'll take you back to step 1 where we talked about, identifying your proprietary process or your unique method for coaching people and getting them a specific result or solving a specific problem. You need time to refine that process, right? Like, again, you're clearly an online coach because you've gotten yourself some sort of result in the past. You've created it for yourself, and now you're trying to teach other people how to do it. But the problem is you have no proof yet that you can teach other people how to do this. At this point, you only just know how you were able to do it. A lot of people want to go make a course and then start selling a digital product before they have ever coached anybody one-on-one. And if you plan on being in the space for a long time, and especially actually getting people a lot of results, you want to take people through your process and get people from point A to point B one-on-one first, so you can get good at coaching people, identify patterns, see the bottlenecks that people run into, and then you can create a course. So that's the second reason. Let's get on to number 3. Number 3, and this is where the magic happens, guys. This is what you really got to understand. When you are starting out as an online coach, the number 1 thing you want to do is you want to get your clients results. The fastest way to not make it is to put out a course or put out a product and flop and not get anybody results. So when you start out with a high ticket offer that actually affords your time with the client one-on-one, not only do you get better at coaching and teaching people in a one-on-one setting, but also the clients get more results. Like, if you were to sell 100 people a $50 product, I'm not aware of many products that are $50 that actually ever changed anybody's life drastically and gave them life-changing, life-altering results in life. But I know if someone pays you $5,000 and you work with them for, say, 12 weeks and in a one-on-one setting and help them make more money, lose fat, whatever it is, I know they're going to get better results because they're going to have more accountability, more touch points than if they just bought a digital course, okay? When you're looking for your first couple clients, what's going to help you start to attract even more people and build your credibility, which is the number 1 thing, is testimonials. So if you want the best testimonials, you want to start by doing one-on-one high-ticket clients. All right, now a couple more things before we move on to step number 3 that you're going to want to really dial in. You have to define who you're looking for, and you have to define the problem you're looking to solve or the result you're trying to create, and then your unique process. Now, again, if we're starting with a high-ticket offer, we want to put some sort of time frame on this. So the work you got to do at this point on your own is you got to say, okay, let me make my offer $2,000 to $5,000. Let me pick a price point. It's going to work. And then let me ask myself, if I were to coach myself starting over from where I was at before I was who I am now, or have the results that I now have, how would I take myself through that process? How often would I want to meet on a weekly basis, and how long do I think it would take? Right? So again, let's say I'm trying to help a high ticket salesperson make $10,000 a month, and my ideal client is someone who's making $3,000 a month as a high ticket closer. How long do I think that process is going to take? Is it going to take 8 weeks of one-on-one calls? Is it going to take 12 weeks? How long is it really going to take? Let's say I was like, okay, I'm going to have people pay me $5,000. I'm going to do 12 one-on-one Zoom calls with them over a 12-week basis. And in 90 days, they should be able to make $10,000 because at that point I've spent 12 hours with them and pretty well have probably taught them most of the things I know about high ticket closing. So that would be my offer. And now here's the cool part. A lot of you guys are probably thinking there's no way it's this simple. And the reality is it is. You see, because as you start coaching more people, you're going to learn patterns. You're going to notice that like, oh, I probably should have started out by taking them through this step before I went to this step. Over time, you're going to become a better coach. You're going to create systems and processes around coaching people. And then you're going to start launching your lower ticket offers as you start to get more traction. But starting out, working one-on-one with people is 100% the best way to ensure you get better as a coach, you start to develop yourself, and the client gets better results. Let's move on to step 3. All right, guys, we're on to step number 3, and step number 3 is to promote. Now, most online coaches I work with, this is where they get stuck, okay? And I'm not really sure why. I think it's just there's a lot of confusion out there. Promoting is very simple, okay? I always like to say it like this. There's only 4 ways to let other people know about the stuff that you offer. 1-to-1 to warm clients, 1-to-1 to cold clients, 1-to-many to warm clients, or 1-to-many to cold clients. So 1-to-1 to a warm client would be reaching out to somebody in your warm network, somebody that you already know, that you already kind of have a relationship with. 1-to-1 cold would be like cold calling somebody. 1-to-many hot would be like posting on your own social media accounts. And then 1-to-many cold would be like running paid ads. I will tell you this, it's 2025. When you're doing coaching especially, I wouldn't really focus on cold calling, okay? I mean, like I've never, worked with a coach and told them you should cold call people one-on-one. Like it's the last one you'd ever want to attack, okay? I always say this, there's chasing and then there's attracting. And one of the reasons social media is so cool, and again, this is where knowing the type of, your ideal client, knowing how they talk and being able to market to them and, share your message the right way is so important, is so that you never have to chase people. Because if you get really clear on your message, like who you are and how you help people solve the problem or get the result that you're promising, and you can show proof consistently, like you're posting client wins and stuff like that on a weekly basis, you're never going to have to chase clients. You're going to attract them. And that is the entire goal of being an online coach, is attracting clients and then bringing them into your ecosystem. So let's scrap 1-to-1 cold calls and let's just focus on the last 3. We got 1-to-1 warm, we got 1-to-many warm, and we got 1-to-many cold. And let's go ahead and scrap ads, okay? By the way, in a future video, I'm going to cover exactly how to market as an online coach. But again, for time's sake, we got to keep it short with this. So I'm just going to go over these other 2 methods on how to get your first couple clients. 1-to-1 warm outreach is a great way for you to get your first online coaching client, right? So here's what it kind of looks like. We've decided what niche we want to attack. We've, created our offer. We know that we're going to coach people one-on-one for $3,000 for, let's say, 12 weeks to produce a specific result. So where do we start? How do we go about getting our first client? There's a couple ways. And the first way is warm outreach. And it works like this. You're going to go through the contact list on your phone. You're going to go through your follower list on Instagram, your friends list on Facebook. And let's say between those 3 sources, you have a list of 1,000 people. Those are 1,000 people that already know you exist. They've probably been following you on social media, or they know you've shaken their hand in person at some point and you guys exchange phone numbers. So they know a little bit about you. You're not a complete stranger to them, right? So it goes like this. You're going to reach out and you're going to hit people up and you're going to say, hey, Colin, what's going on? It's Brendan. I'm excited to announce that I just launched my new coaching program where I help X person get X result through X unique mechanism. Do you by chance know anybody that would want help with this? Do you know anybody that'd be a good fit for the coaching program or is currently struggling with XYZ? You'd be surprised how many coaches I work with that lock down their first couple clients simply by just reaching out to people that they already know. And when you ask that, you're indirectly asking them if they'd be interested. So sometimes you're going to have people respond and go, oh my God, man, I've been trying to lose weight. Yeah, I'd like to hear more about your program. And then sometimes they might even refer you to people, refer you to their friends or their family that may benefit from your program. If you were to do that and reach out to everyone in your warm network, you would surely land at least your first client, if not your first couple clients, okay? But there is a second strategy that we're now going to cover, and this is actually my favorite way to help online coaches get their first couple clients. So the second way, if you guys remember, is one-to-many warm. Now that means basically going out to your current followers you already have, inviting them to work with you, okay? So I like to teach online coaches this. It's called the 5 guys post, okay? So let's say you're sitting there and you're clear on your niche, you've got your offer ready, and now you're like, let me see if any of my followers would be interested in working with me and, allowing me to coach them. So you're going to go on your Instagram story or your Facebook wall, and you're going to say, I'm looking for 5, fill in the blank with the person you're looking for, who want to fill in the blank with your result or the problem that you solve through, and then fill in the blank with your unique mechanism. And then DM me the word, and then put a keyword, all caps, if you're interested or if you're ready to go to the next level. You'd be surprised how many coaches, again, that I have them make that post and they literally land their first couple clients within 24 hours. Let's say, you're not active on social media. This probably isn't the strategy for you, but most of you guys have already been posting a little bit and you've been, engaged with your audience for quite some time. They might be ready for your offer and you never know it. And one of two things is going to happen. You're either going to get leads, which means that people that are already watching your content see you as an authority in this area and are interested in learning from you on how to get that result, which is a great indicator that you're already kind of you're onto the right track already of posting the right content and educating your audience, things like that. Or if you get no leads, it's not a big deal. It just means you haven't demonstrated to your audience yet that you're the authority that can get them that result that you were talking about in your story, or the audience you currently have isn't interested in learning about that at all, which just means we need to shift your content strategy. Again, in future videos, I'm going to talk about how to market, how to get more clients as an online coach. If you're following along and you just ran those 2 plays, you did some warm outreach and you made a story post, most likely you're going to land your first coaching client. So let's go ahead and jump into step number 4. Come on. All right, guys, we're on to step 4, and you're this close to landing your first online coaching client. So at this point, we've got the niche, we've got the offer, and now hopefully we have engaged leads, okay? So an engaged lead works like this. An engaged lead is someone that literally raises their hand and asks for your help, right? So let's say that you did some warm outreach and you made a post on your story and you had a couple people reach out off the story and you had a couple people that texted you and said they're interested in, learning more about your coaching. Well, what do you do next, right? Here's what you guys need to understand. As an online coach, one of the skills you need to master is high ticket closing. You need to master sales over the phone or over Zoom because you're going to be using this skill set every single day. Because what a lot of guys don't really understand until they get into this space is that most sales industries, like if you're talking about car sales, solar, roofing, different things like that, it's a much easier sell than selling coaching because it's intangible. It's an intangible product, right? So it's mandatory you get really good at high ticket sales. What do you do? Well, the first thing you're going to do is tee up a phone call. I see a lot of online coaches and they're like, yeah, man, I had so-and-so reach out, so I sent him the information and he didn't buy. And I'm like, dude, you need to get him on a phone call. It works like this. You get leads, and that's one bucket. That's one number you need to track. That's what we call a key performance indicator, a KPI of your success. So you need leads. And from those leads, you want booked calls. And from those booked calls, you want people to close on your program. The next step after you get these leads is to tee up a phone call. A text I would send to a client, if someone were to reach out to me and DM me the word coach on Instagram and inquire about me helping them grow their coaching business, I would typically respond. I'd be like, hey, Colin, thanks for reaching out, brother. I'm in between appointments right now and I got a little bit of time to talk. Can you shoot me your cell phone number? That way we can hop on a phone call. Plain and simple. From there, I'm reaching out to the client. I'm hopping on a phone call with them and I'm taking them through a high ticket sales process. Again, for time's sake on this video, I don't have time to run you through my entire high ticket sales script. However, at this point in the video, if you guys are engaged and you want to get your hands on my personal high ticket sales script, then I'll send it to you. I'll actually drop my phone number below right here on the screen. And if you just text me the word script, I will send you over my high ticket sales script. The main thing I want you guys to understand is high ticket sales is the backbone of your success starting out as a coach. Okay, you need to take people, again, from a lead to a booked call and then to a sale. High ticket sales is a skill set that you definitely want to master. And I do want to go ahead and cover a couple key things that you need to do if you want to really dial in your high ticket sales process. Okay, so number one is going to be just to have a process in general, right? The script that I can send you will give you a framework to follow and somewhat of a script and, process. That way you're not jumping all over the place. Another big mistake I see a lot of online coaches make, they'll get to the very end of the call and the prospect will commit to buying the program, but they don't take payment on the phone. And I'm here to tell you today, if you're not taking at least a deposit on the phone with your prospect, you're probably going to end up with getting ghosted like Casper the Ghost as an online coach. Okay, so you want to make sure you're always taking payment. You want to have a process that you follow. You want to frame the call at the very beginning. So when you hop on, it's like, hey, Colin, what's going on, man? I know you reached out to me on Instagram. The purpose of this call is this for us to chat, and I want to know about you, your goals, what you're trying to do. And at the end of the call, if I feel like we're a good fit, I'll go over my program and how it can help you. Something very simple like that. Just frame the call, run them through the process, take payment on the call. So again, guys, if you want my high ticket sales script, text the number I dropped on the screen, and that covers step number 4. Let's get to step number 5. All right, guys, so you've made it almost to the end of the video. We're on to step 5, okay? Now at this point, you've identified your niche, created your offer, you've marketed your offer. You've probably sold somebody by now. You got your first couple clients, okay? Now, step 5 is what we call scale, okay? Now, I want to explain something to you at this point in the video. As an online coach, there's 3 phases you go through when you're trying to grow your business, okay? Number 1 is the launch phase. Number 2 is the growth phase, and number 3 is the scale phase. The launch phase as an online coach is 0 to 10,000. The growth phase is 10,000 to 50,000. And then the scale phase is 50,000 to 100,000 plus a month. Now, I want to explain something to you. This video was how to launch your coaching program, okay? Which means going from $0 to $10,000 a month. Now, a couple notes on that. Number 1, I always tell my coaches there's one goal of this launch phase, and that's to validate your offer. Okay, because the reality is in all these steps, in the first 4 steps, while it all sounds great in theory, you're probably going to make mistakes, right? Like you might have chose the wrong niche. You might need to adjust your offer a little bit. Maybe your offer doesn't deliver as well as you want it to, or you realize it's too much work, or you could have, there could be a million things that happen. It's going to happen. You're going to have to make shifts. But the goal of all 4, the first 4 steps is just to validate your offer. The goal is to identify a niche, realize, really like get a pulse on the amount of demand and amount of pain in that marketplace. Like, is this really a niche you can make a lot of money in? Like, as you're marketing, are you attracting clients? Are people willing to spend $5,000, $2,000 to buy your offer? Because here's the thing. Again, if you get 1-2 clients a month, you're making $5 to $10K. If your offer is $5K, even if you're selling your offer for $2,000 and you get 5 clients a month, you're now making $10,000, right? In that 0 to 10K, you're just learning. You're in that learning phase. You're learning and you're experimenting. You're the experimenter. You're figuring out, how to get people the results you're promising them. You're getting clear on your niche and you're getting better at marketing to those people and talking to them and things like that. You're getting good at sales. You're doing everything at this point. You're a one-man band. You don't have an assistant yet. You don't have a setter. You don't have a closer. You don't have an onboarding specialist. You don't have any of this stuff yet. You don't need it because before you try to delegate something, you should master it first. This phase is all about experimenting, okay? And it's okay to make mistakes. The whole goal, again, is just to validate the offer. You're ready to leave the launch phase and go into the scale phase when you're hitting at least $10,000 a month for typically like 3 months consecutively. Your clients are getting results. You feel comfortable with the amount of time and effort you're putting into each client, meaning you're not like so far overextending yourself that you're not going to be able to scale the offer, and everybody's happy. And you see more clients coming into your ecosystem. You see that there's a need in the marketplace. So now you're ready to start scaling. So at this point, you've now learned how to completely master, and you see the full blueprint behind the launch phase of your coaching business, okay? So just want to say a couple things now as we wrap up this video. Number 1, I hope you guys got a lot of value. I've noticed there's a lot of gatekeeping out there in the world right now. And everybody's dropping the tips and tricks, but not everybody's exposing the blueprints. That's what I'm trying to do. And I'm trying to help online coaches absolutely crush it in 2025. So again, guys, if you got value, do me a favor, like the video, subscribe so you can see my next video. If you guys want to see how to find your niche as an online coach, I can link that video down below. And thanks again. We'll see you next time.